Okay, guys, good evening. We have, oh wow, we have huge class today. Okay, sounds good. How do you guys hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sounds fine. Perfect. Okay, good. Hi, guys. Good evening, everyone. I hope you have a nice evening, and we will have a really productive class today. Someone saying that it's lagging. Is just on your side, or you guys have any issues with hearing me or like lagging or anything? Because one person says that it's fine here, no issues, no. Okay, so it's good. Yeah, it seems like, Brandon, I think this is on your side. Maybe check your internet connection, because everyone else saying that you look clear, no issues. Okay, so guys, today we are going to talk about something interesting, and not only interesting, but it's also very, it's an essential thing. It's a test preparation. So many of you are asking like, what are the test preparation part? And I know I've been asked on webinars and on other classes, like when we are starting, because the testing part is pretty straightforward, right? You test, but how do you prepare for this test is a different thing. And we always have to pay attention on this part. Basically, we're preparing for the test before we actually test. Why we cannot just do the ad hoc or monkey testing, just, just clicking around, is because we have to structure the tests. We have to have a record of what we did. We have to have the record of what's failed, what's passed. And all of these things we cannot do without preparing ourselves for the testing. So how do we prepare? We write test cases. How many of you guys heard about test cases or have an idea what the test case is? Anyone? Me, idea, me a little. Okay, so some of you have an idea. Basically, I heard about it, not at all, a bit, no idea. Okay, so in either case, even if you have an idea or you don't, we will start today from the very beginning. And later on, when you get your homework, I think it's before the class 10, I don't remember exactly, you will have the practice of writing these test cases, and we will review them together. So we will work on it. It's not just one class we have today, because it's more than one class thing. This is something that needs practice. So today we will have the part which is more I would say theoretical. I'll show you how to do it, but then you'll have to do it yourself once you will get your homework. And for homework, you will do your best, and we will review it together and go through each homework file to see and to show to your group what are the main things that people are missing, maybe not understanding well. So we will be going back and circle back to the topic. So I encourage you just to sit today and try to understand as much as you can, but don't stress out, because we will continue on that. And this is something that you cannot avoid. If you were thinking that, okay, maybe someone else will write the tests and I will just execute them, maybe, but probably not going to be forever like this. And at some point, you will be asked to write test cases, because it's, it's given that you're writing test cases. It's not like any manager will even think that you don't know how to write test cases. When we will get access to Jira? We will get access to Jira, I think, before your homework. I'm not quite sure when exactly that happens because I'm in different department. So I think you will be getting at the same time, probably after, if I remember it right, then it's probably after 6 or 7 lessons. So it's pretty soon. And basically, what I'm going to show you today is how we prepare for the test and what kind of documentation we are using. Because you will deal with particular documentation all the time. You know, it's not really changing from company to company. What's changing is that they might have some of this documentation, they might not have some of this documentation, they might have a lot of docs, and they might have 0. But wherever you have, this is all the sources of information that you will be using. So first, we're just going to look quickly of these documentation types, because again, maybe you will not have them. Maybe they don't even write that. Some, especially startups, they have much less documentation than we require for tests. But wherever we can access, wherever we can source, we will be using. So what we're going to do today, we're going to look at the types of documentation, and I will show you how we use TestRail. That's the test management tool. And then we're going to write the test cases based on the requirements. So let's see how we're doing today. But again, I want to point that today your job is to understand the base and practice, keep practicing when you get your homework. And don't worry if you have mistakes, everyone has, but really it's not a rocket science. It's easy, it's just the same methodology. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay. You should be seeing my my screen right now. And we are going to, do you see that? Do you see my screen? Okay, good. So, as I told you guys, types of requirements documentation, that's the first topic. Second topic is write test cases based on PRD. And the third one is TestRail. We are going to use them all at the same time, pretty much, because number 2 and 3, they go together. Number 1 is a prerequisite for number 2 and 3. So let's start. So basically, what are the types of docs that you might be dealing with? Why you need to deal with is because you need to understand what you're testing. So most of the companies will have some sorts of documentation, not necessarily all of it, but you need to know what they are. So we will look today quickly. And then if you want to really see the examples for yourself, then in your learning materials, there are examples which you can read. But again, this is not something required. Required is to learn how to write the test cases. This is your sources of information, which might be there or might be not. Okay, so the first one, which you join the company and you might be shared, so someone can share with you, maybe your manager, these documentations files. They're usually somewhere in the cloud, or they can be in some particular resources, but it doesn't matter. They can be in any format. So first one is business requirement document, short is BRD. So business requirement document focuses on the business perspective as it holds the details of the business solution for a project. Business requirement document also emphasizes on the needs and expectations of the customer. In simple terms, BRD indicates that the business wants what the business wants to achieve. The PRD indicates all the project deliverable and the input and output associated with each process function. PRD focuses on the business objectives and distinguishes between the business solution and technical solution. In simple words, what is BRD? BRD is it's a document which we don't really use for ourselves just because it doesn't have enough technical things and doesn't have enough details for us to build the test. This is mostly to share with everyone in the company, not necessarily engineering, because we are in engineering, but the rest of the people, they might be in marketing and business development and design and customer service. All of these people, they're not that technical. And these documents, this BRD, it's not really technical. It's an overview of what company wants to achieve. It will have some milestones, some tasks, some particular functionality that we want to present. But it will be pretty, I would say it's like an umbrella. So under this umbrella, you need much more information to be able to build your tests. So BRD will be shared across the company, everyone can read it, but for engineering, it's not much information. So usually you would just read for yourself, just to understand kind of like the general idea, but for us, really, it's not helping much. And answering question, is it helping us to write the test cases? Not really. It's mostly giving us an idea of what we want to achieve and when, and some basic understanding of the functionality, but it's totally not enough for us to write tests. So usually we never read this one for test purposes. We only read it for the purpose of understanding the business perspective the company is targeting. And you can see the example when you have a chance, you will understand what it is, but it's really not something that we look at. What we look at is this. This is the PRD, Product Requirement Document. And also, guys, when you are working and you see anything which has a word requirement, this is us. This is what you need to understand very well. You read it a few times and you build your test based on PRD. So when you join the company, you will be provided with PRD or you ask for it. It's really something that all the engineering uses. This is used by developers, by managers, by QA. It's not really used by, let's say business development are not going to use this much. They might look at it, but they might not use it really as we use. But for us, for engineering, this is the main doc. So what is PRD? Product Requirement Document, PRD, is a document containing all the requirements to a certain product. It is written to allow people to understand what a product should do. So basically, we are going to look at the example today and use it. But for now, what you need to understand is that PRD is something that you have to either request from your manager or they will share with you by default. But in any case, you have to have it because this is your doc. Typically, PRD is created from a user's point of view by a user, client, or a company marketing department. The requirements are then analyzed by potential maker supplier from a more technical point of view, broken down and detailed in functional specifications, sometimes also called technical requirement document. So basically, PRD is written in easier way to understand rather than technical requirement document. Technical requirement document will be super technical and usually we don't really look at it also, but the PRD will have enough functionality for us to build the test, but it will be understandable for not only us in engineering, but also, let's say, marketing. They also can use it. Some PRD might have more technical terms. Some PRD may be super easy, like, like the customer guide. But it really depends on the product. And for you, it should be easy to understand and easy to read because it's not that technical, but it has all the information that you need. And you will be using PRD for building the majority of your test cases, pretty much because that's the only one that you need. However, we also might have technical requirements document, and this one is the one which is really technical one. Do we use it? We don't really use it because it contains too much of an information that we don't really need. It's mostly for developers and architects. Basically, TRD is the document on the basis of which the development team implements the project and which describes lists of functions and algorithms, interface requirements, system architecture requirements, development methodology, methodological stack, what technologies will be used and why, and many other things. Technical requirement specification contains comprehensive knowledge about the purpose of the system, functionality, and implementation methods. Also attached an example in case you want to look at it, but once you become more mid-senior level QA, you can read this one and build some extra tests, some system tests, some, something which is not only on the surface, right? For system tests, you will be using TRD. But before that, before you spend a long time in the company and you really understand what's running behind it, or unless you're hired to test the system on the back of the site, not just what you see, but how it's running, then you don't really need the TRD. But if, let's say, you're hired as a QA who will be testing some microservices, something which is behind the scenes, then you will need it. But in most cases, you do not. You can look at it. It has a lot of stuff. Just we don't need it because we're not testing that deeply most of the time. Okay, who creates PRD? This one. It's created sometimes by marketing, sometimes by product manager. So it really depends. But what I've seen most of the time that will be product manager who creates it. Or it can be joint effort. It's not us. We are not creating it. We are given to use. Is this more for non-functional testing, TRD? No, TRD, it's very functional. It's super functional if you do it. Let's say you will need TRD if, let's say, you need to test, as I said, microservices. Let's say you work in Amazon services, AWS, maybe you guys heard it. It has many small services, and they're not really connected with each other. But your company might use some of them, and they might want to test it. Let's say they want to test the data structuring, and that all will be really done in the back, not in front of what you see. So in this case, you might need to read TRD, but most of the time, for this kind of for all these kind of tests, which are system tests, it's mostly done by the automation guys who have the experience using, let's say, data testing. So it's not for the beginning, I would say. So if you're interested to see the structure of the website, let's say, or service, then you can look at TRD. But the thing is that many of these things we will not understand, especially in the beginning, just because they are created for architects and developers. So many things for us will be here not clear, not usable. We will not understand what it says. Maybe after some time we will understand particular things, but it's not going to be a full either way, because this is not our doc. But we might look at it if we have any questions. I'm looking at the questions now. Usually the developer uses TRD. Yes, developers will use automation QA. Automation QA, yes, they will, if they test the services behind it, but they usually don't. Okay, so now I want you to forget about this because it's really not something that we want to focus on. But there are other things which we need to cover and then move to the important topic. Just remember, from everything that we just looked, yours is PRD, product requirement. Okay, now we also have Confluence. Confluence is a documentation platform that stores and organizes all of the information assets around the project you are doing in Jira, like product requirements or general things like meeting minutes, marketing assets, etc. Confluence and Jira were designed to complement each other and have a number of integration points built in, giving Confluence users the ability to view, interact with, and reference Jira issues from a Confluence page. QA may use Confluence to view documentation and monitor release notes. In easy words, what is Confluence? Confluence is a library which is located in Jira. So if you go to Jira, which you will use most of the time, in Jira, you will click in here and you will see that it has Confluence. Basically, it's like a library which is maintained by everyone. QA will write their stuff, product will write their stuff, technical writers will be writing their things here. So basically, it's like a huge library that you can access and you can maintain. So let's say you're a new QA and you need to set up testing, set up the apps. Instead of someone will be sitting and explaining how to do that, they will point you to Confluence page, which explains everything. And same for the requirements, everything will be there. So you will be able to use it. Our Confluence is not really, yeah, I don't have the access to this one, but our Confluence will have probably nothing here because it's really not, we are not using it for this purpose. This is mostly for to show you how to file the bugs. But Confluence is there and you will be using it most of the times in the company which is using Jira. So if you use Jira, there is Confluence. If there is a Confluence, there is some library with your knowledge base. So you can find it when you go to Jira, you click on this menu and you see Confluence. It's always there. It just might be maintained and might be not. Okay. Is it maintained by the company or Jira group? By the company. So everyone writes their own things here. We will have our own space as QA. You will be writing there. I will be writing there. Everyone will be writing there. Some people write, some people don't. But it's good to write because you don't have to constantly remember what did you do. You just put everything in here and everyone can use it and go and set up their tools, set up their testing and all that stuff. Okay. What kind of document is TRD? Can you give us an example? Yeah, guys, the example is linked to the study material, but I mean, you can read it, it's just you don't really need it. I'd rather want you to read the PRD because this is the one that you use, in fact, all the time. Okay, now let's go back. So Confluence is clear. It's pretty much a library that's integrated into Jira, and you guys maintain it yourself. Everyone in the company can write something there, which is nice. Now, test plan. Test plan is a document which we read, but we are not writing it. We don't write it. This is written by the lead or manager. So test plan basically will have the strategy that will be applied to test an application. It will have deadlines, what kind of tools we are using, what is in the scope, what is out of scope, and all of these things. But not everyone writes test plan. Not every manager will have it. So you might be given test plan just to read, to understand some more information. But most of the managers, they don't write it because they don't want to spend time on that. So maybe you will not see it. But if you are asked what is the test plan, is basically it's a document which is created by the manager, QA manager, and it outlines the common testing strategy, what they want to use. So whether you will have it or not, you might, but you might not. But you need to know what it is. So you can also see the materials if you have time. Just scroll through it and understand what it is for yourself. Not that you will be using it much, but it's good to know. Say what the test plan is one more time. So test plan is a document which is created by the QA manager or lead, and it outlines the basic strategy that your team lead wants to use. It will be having the milestones, the tools that you're going to use, the scope of work, something which is out of scope. Those things will be there if your manager writes the test plan. Again, he might or she might not. In my experience, I have 12 years of experience in this sphere, and only maybe 1/3 of the managers actually write test plan. So I would say maybe you will not see it, but you need to know what it is. So that's what it is. Okay. Next one is a test case. Test case documents, that's what we write. And that is very important. Test case is something that you have to be writing, and you have to know how to write it correctly. Because test case writing is easy. It's not difficult. It's really, really easy. It's just a test that you will be performing over and over again. But if you write it incorrectly, you might stuck in the situation when you cannot pass the test and you cannot fail it. And this is because your test case was not really clearly defined. And we're going to work on test cases today, so you will know what I mean. Does the test plan cross-check the PRD? It will have some of the things from the PRD, like, for example, the scope of work, but it will not have enough information to write any tests based on test plan, because it's really a planning document. It's not something that contains the requirements. I mean, it might have, it's just not going to be enough. Okay, so what is the test case, guys? Test case it's a series of minimal simple steps that has to be done to check a particular functionality. Basically, test case has to be small because you will have a lot of them. You can have hundreds of test cases for, let's say, for the website or service or application. You will have a lot of them. And you need to have a lot of them. Why? Because you have to test so many things that you cannot really put it into the one big test case, right? You have to break it down. What is in the test case? It has a title, which is simple, self-explanatory sentence describing system behavior under specific conditions. I will show you. It will also have precondition, if applicable, may include various conditions and states the system should be in before running the test case. Basically, what you need to have before you get to your test. It will have test steps, a list of sequential actions that must be taken to complete the test, and it has to have expected result. Basically, what you need, what you're expecting at the end. It explains the system behavior to the tester, which they should experience as a result of the test steps. So these components always have to be present in test case, and we will make sure to polish them not only today, but during your homework and practice. Now, how many test cases do you make a day? Oh, well, first of all, we are not doing them all the time. We are only doing the preparation part before we actually test. So once we prepared, let's say we have 100 test cases. We wrote them before we started testing. And then when the test starts, we just open them and run them. I'll show you. So how many a day? It depends. You can create, it depends how fast you are, how easy the requirement document is, but usually you will have enough time. We are not writing test cases in one day. I mean, you can write test cases for, let's say, a few weeks, and before you actually start testing. So you will get prepared. Sometimes those test cases will be written before you even join. The test lead might write them. Someone else who is there, let's say, been working before you, they can write it, and you will be just running them. But someone needs to write them, and you might be needing it as well. This is just like a bug report. No, guys, this is completely different. This is before you can test, means this is before you write any bugs. When you create a test case, you prepare for the test. Bug report you create after you run the test. So this is pure preparation part. At this time, you're not going to have anything to test yet. Developers will be still developing, but before they give it to you, of course, that's your time for preparation. And I believe that you guys had a class on software development life cycle where it explains when you actually have your preparation part, and if you maybe forget or rewatch it. So basically, the preparation part is before the testing starts, and you might spend a good amount of time on preparation, because when testing starts, you will not have time to write this because you have to test. Okay. Now, another document, which is, I would say, we are not using it, but for some reason, it still exists in some companies, and you might be asked, what is test matrix? But most likely, you will not be using it, because this is something used and created by test analysts who will evaluate the coverage of tests that you or someone else created. Test matrix, basically, is the document that connects requirements and tests. The traceability matrix is a tool both for the validation team to ensure that requirements are not lost during the validation project, and for auditors to review the validation documentation. See materials, for example, Just take a quick look, as you will never need to prepare such a document. I prepared this once in my life. I struggled with it and I hated it. And we were sitting with my colleague half of the night, but I was a lead. So when you're a lead, you might need to prepare this. But even if you do, there is a bunch of examples online and you can work on it. But as you guys still just starting, this is not something that you need to even worry about before you become a lead or test analyst. And even then, probably you're not going to use it. Basically, what you need to know is that the test matrix or traceability matrix is a document which ensures that we have, let's say, 100 of requirements, and we have to have at least one test that covers each of them, so we don't lose the requirements. Basically, it's kind of like connecting requirements and tests. Do we have tests for this requirement? Do we have tests for this requirement? And so on. You don't need it because most likely you're not going to work with it. So this is step one. Yeah, preparation is the step one. That's correct. That's before you even get to test. This is all the preparation part. So we write for prepare for us. No one gonna check it. No one gonna check it, but you need to do it well, because let's say you write test cases for the whole QA team. They all will use it. So if, let's say, you write a bad ones, they get lost and that's going to be a mess. So yeah, we write for ourselves. No one is checking it, but they need to be good ones. So you prepare test cases from the PRD. Yeah, that's correct. You use PRD for that. This is during the planning stage only. Yes. So during the planning, we prepare the tests and we read the documents and we write test cases. Of course, sometimes when you started testing and you realize you forgot some tests, or let's say something was added, then you just quickly write test cases. But the majority of cases will be written during the preparation part. Yes. Also, you may have to refer to them much later, so they need to be detailed. Exactly. Now, TestRail. So you remember that maybe you already had something that mentioned TestRail, maybe not. So basically, TestRail is the test management software. It looks like this. This is TestRail, and I will be showing you TestRail today because we'll be writing test cases and running tests. This is the software that most of the companies will use to store their tests, to store their results and everything. Everything is in here. Now, the definition of TestRail. TestRail helps you manage and track your software testing efforts and organize your QA department. It makes it easy to create test cases, manage test runs, and coordinate your entire testing process. TestRail is used by thousands of teams, both small and large. This video gives a pretty straightforward and short explanation about using TestRail. So I recommend you to watch the video when you work on your study materials. However, even though it looks like it's a lot of things here, it's really not. We are using the particular ones, and I'll show you which ones. For example, you need to start with TestRail, and you join the company and you get access to it. You will be created, someone will create for you the credentials, and you will be logged in. Once you logged in, you will see this, and it really doesn't say nothing, right? But you need to go to projects, and you will find the project that you're working on. You'll need to ask your manager or someone who sits next to you what is the project, because your company might have a lot of them and you need yours. So you basically ask when is the, or where is my project? Let's say it's called Natalia project, right? You go here. No data. Okay, I think this is the new one. Let's say go to this one. Okay, that's weird. Okay, just disregard this one. So once you go to your project, you will see that there is on the top, there is test runs and results. That's what you will be using. And test cases, the ones that you will be creating. Now, see, I have a few test cases, but of course you will have much more than this, because this is test cases that we are going to look at today. We're going to write them and run. But for us, this is the two main things: test runs and results and test cases. That's pretty much all we care about. Now, when you run tests, you have to store this test runs, and they all are going to be stored here. Let's say you want to run the test cases, and someone wrote them, because you see they're here, and your manager might say, okay, please run the test case. So then you will just go to test runs and results. You say add test run, and you just fill the data. So here is a test run and the date stamp. It will be pre-filled for you. Reference milestones you don't need. You can assign to yourself or to someone else. Let's say you want to, someone else has to write it, run it. But usually we assign to ourselves. And description you don't need. Here you can select, include all the test cases, or select specific ones. This one, I don't know what it is. That's a new thing. Never used it. But usually these two we are using. And if you add all the test cases, then it will be lots of tests. Sometimes you don't need it. Sometimes you just need to say select specific test cases. And once you select them, you click here, and you will see all the cases that you wrote or someone else wrote. And here you can just select the ones that you need to write, to run. Let's say this one. And you click OK. Now you create a test run, you say add, and here you see this is your dashboard. Once you will start testing, you will be adding the results, and they are all here. We are not going to do it right now, because first we need to write the test cases, because we cannot really assume that they're always here. They might be here, they might be not, right? But you need to know that if they're there, then your test run is pretty easy. You just select and you will be testing it. But if not, then first you would have to create the tests and then run them. Okay? Now let me see what are the questions. Difference between TestRail and Jira. A very common question. They're different because TestRail stores your tests. Jira stores your bug reports. And the bug reports created when you run your tests and when you find something which is failed. And when the test failed, then you create a Jira. They are not really linked. They might be integrated if your company decides to make it easy to integrate them, so you can link Jira straight from TestRail or create Jira straight from TestRail. But it's two different softwares with two different purposes. One is to store the cases, which is TestRail, and one is to store the bugs, and that is Jira. Does that make sense? Okay, good. Makes sense. Very nice. No questions on this. Okay, good. Now, idea. I'll create one software for test cases and bugs. That's a good idea. You can. Is TestRail in Jira? No, it's not. It's two different companies. They are not related to each other, but they have an ability to be integrated. And if your company will do the integration, then it will be easier to, let's say, link Jira to the test case. Let's say it failed here, it failed, and you need to create a Jira. So here, the facts, you will link the Jira straight from the TestRail. But if they're not integrated, they are separate, then you will just type Jira 123 is for this test case, which failed. That's how it is. Okay? Now, keep moving. When you guys writing your bug reports or even tests, it's very helpful to have a screen recording. Screen recording will help anyone who looks at your Jira or test to see what it's actually has to do. Some tests, they don't require it because they're pretty simple, but some will benefit from it. So when you start working in QA and you start working with some documentation that you can prepare, the Jira, the tickets, the tests, you need to know that there is a screen recording, and you better to use it if you want to create a really nice, let's say, bug report or nice test. Not every test needs it, but for the bug reports, it's very beneficial. So when you, I was going to say when you go home, well, you're already home. When you're studying after class, there are guides which are for, let's say, for QuickTime on Mac. The video is here. How to record your screen on Windows, Mac OS guide here, iOS here, Android is here. Just look at the guide because you always can Google it again, how to do it. But you need to really be prepared to know how to do it fast. So after you do it a few times, of course, you will remember. But again, try to watch the guides. It will help you in a long way. Also, there are some materials which you also want to read. It's like a homework for you to go through them. So how to write test cases for login page, how to test a toaster, how to test pen, test cases for vending machine, just to give you kind of like the general understanding of the test cases. Okay. Now, we will also have, we already have 2 extra videos in your learning space: bug reporting, how to write great bugs reports, and test cases, best practices. I really recommend you guys to watch those. They're not long, but they're amazing. Okay, so today we will start, but then don't forget, this is really, really good if you watch it before you're doing your homework. Okay, now we're done with this part, and now we are going to actually practice writing test cases. So 6:18, we have 10 minutes till the break. Let me see if we have any questions. What are some other programs similar to TestRail? Really, guys, you can store your tests anywhere, even in Google Docs, even in Excel, anywhere. It's just TestRail makes it easy to retrieve. Let's say you did the test run a year ago and you want to look at it. It's easy to find. But really, TestRail is the most popular. All of the companies that I have been working at, except Apple, used TestRail. Apple did not use the TestRail, but they just because most of their tools are internal tools which they built for themselves. So we did not use TestRail at Apple, but all the other companies use TestRail. So to see which are the similar, I'm not even sure what else is so popular. If we talk about TestRail, I'm sure there are some. It's just because we never used it. I think if you Google, you might find some too. But they should be similar. The purpose is the same. I sent my email, but I didn't get anything for the study group. Okay, that I'm not sure, guys. That is for customer support. Yes, everything that you want to see, it's in your carries dashboard. It's there. You will just look. Use snippet tool for Windows to capture screen. Yeah. If you're on Windows, then it will be one way. If you're on Mac, it's a different way. This class is going to be the cornerstone of all our carriers. When failed, we send back to developer. No, when failed, your test is failed, then you create a JIRA and then you send it to the developer. Because you cannot really send TestRail to developer, they don't use it. But when you send JIRA to developer, then they use it. So not all of the QA specialists are doing the test preparation case. Since you said that they will be reading it and we have to be very clear and explain well, so it will be understandable for everyone. Yes, so basically we all do test preparation, all of us. But the thing is that, let's say you join the company and you're not the first QA, then it means that they might have written the test cases already. So you would be just executing them. And then at any point, your manager can tell you, okay, Olga, now please create test cases for this functionality. So at any time you are expected to know how to do it, it's just you might not do it at every job because it might be there. So for example, at half of my jobs, I was given my test cases. Basically, I did not write them. But at other half of the jobs, I had to write them from the scratch. So you never know where you end up. But if you are going to be in this career for quite some time, then you will be writing them. I guarantee you at some of the jobs, you will write them. So yeah, they have to be very clear. Because if you open someone test cases, you want them to be clear. If someone opens your test cases, they have to be clear. And we have a joke that if we give the test cases to your grandma who doesn't know how to, let's say, even use computer, she should be able to figure out by using your test cases. That's how clear they should be. How do you test different platforms from a laptop that uses one environment? Example, if your laptop uses Chrome. Okay, so if let's say you need different platforms, different operating systems, then there are two ways. We can use emulators. We have special programs that company will pay for, and you just log in and you select, let's say you want Windows Internet Explorer, I don't know, 11. You click on the button and it creates you the environment on your computer. It's not going to be a virtual machine though, because virtual machine that we used like years ago takes a lot of space and your machine, your computer is slow. It's becoming slow. So we're not using the virtual machines anymore. We are using the special services, which are called emulators, and we select the configuration that is needed and clicking on the button, and that's it. It's opening the browser, the one that you requested, and you just type your website and test in there. Or you have to use different actual machines. Let's say you will be having Mac and you will be having Windows, and you will use both. Also possible. Does it answer your question, Mario? You're welcome, Olga. My phone you charge, but ask how much you make right now and how long it took you to become a QA engineer and how. Well, guys, I've been in this for almost 12 years. I'm a QA manager, so we have different pay rate. It's not exactly the engineering. It's a management which pays as a manager. And how long did it take me? Did it take me? I think I became a lead after about 4 or 5 years of being an engineer. I became a lead and within the same company. And then I became a manager in the other company because I applied to management position and they took me. To become a manager or the lead, you have to spend a few years being an engineer because of course the pay rate is higher when you're in management, but you cannot apply for management position or even for the lead position until you have the experience hands-on. So you have to really test with your hands for at least a couple of years. Then you can become a lead. And from lead, you becoming a manager. Does it answer your question?
No.
Do you do automation as well? No, I do not. And I was never able to. I never was able to code. I can have some ready scripts and I can run them. That's easy, anyone can. But to create from the scratch, no, and I never did. But again, if you're in QA, there are 2 ways that you can grow. If you know how to code or you would like to code, that's an automation path, which is amazing because, you know, automation is great. However, there are people like me and maybe some of you who not the code people, but you are good at organizing, at reporting at the meetings, and dealing with people. Then you become, then you pick the managerial path, and that's the way that you can grow without have to code. So it's really up to you and your abilities and your preferences. You're welcome. Basically, when we write test cases, all team member can access. Yes, this is for everyone. It may be you wrote, but everyone will be executing them and everyone will be testing according to your test case. Can a QA tester add a test case after it was written by somebody else? It can, but then in this case, we have to either remove the previous one because, for example, it's outdated. Then you just kill the other one, just delete it and add yours. But if it's current, let's say it's current functionality, but it's not a well-written one, then you can just edit it. You can edit and add your, let's say, more information in it. Because it's shared doc, everyone can edit, everyone can kill it, everyone can delete. Is the pay increase worth the added level of responsibility stress? It's worth it, yes. The management path is a very good pay. Plus, you know, if you really like to grow, there are 2 ways, as I said. So you have to pick one, or you don't have to, you can just stay an engineer for many years. And I know these people too. It depends what you really like to do. But nowadays, for newcomer, automation is a must. Very few jobs for manual QA. No, not really. We always have 2 departments working together because, just to give you an idea, we have new functionality to come, and manual QA, we write the tests and we give them to automation guys to translate into the particular computer language that computer understands, Java, Python, whatever it is. However, before the software is stable, we cannot run automation. And the software is not stable for a good amount of time when it's being developed. Means most of the things we are doing manually. You're welcome. So no, there are jobs, and they will always there, because we just cannot do many things with automation until we stabilize the software, and most of the time it's not stable. A test case is like an outline for a bug report. Can be, yeah, but you can think of test case as basically one of your many bricks that you build a wall with. So if you think of a wall as a test coverage to test everything that you want to test, then each test case is a separate brick, and these bricks you have to put together to build the whole wall of good coverage. I hope it's a good example. I just come up with it now. Do we have to download Jira application now? No, you will be given access. You don't download nothing. It's actually web-based. So it will be in your browser unless you want the desktop, but for now you don't need it now. What are your shifts like every day and work-life balance? Actually, it's a very good question. In QA, what actually brought me to QA a long time ago is because I had a small baby and I had to study at the same time, and I was able to do it when I started working in QA, because really you don't have to sit 8 hours a day. I mean, you have to be present, maybe remotely or in person, but you're not really linked to 8 to 9. I mean, 8 to 9, yeah, you can 8 to 5 or 9 to 6. No one is really watching you. So the only responsibility that you have is to complete your tasks. You can do it at the night, but your manager is only expecting that it will be done. When you do it, he doesn't really care. But if there are bugs on production, they will be caring. So you have to take care of it. Work-life balance in this, I would say it's one of the best ones that you can wish for, because flexible, you don't have to go to office every day most of the time. You can work from home. You can work at evening if you need to finish something, and you can go to doctor if you need to go in the daytime. I never had any issues. And that's why most of the people go to this, I think, because IT lets you choose your hours most of the time. How can I start practices writing test cases? Oh, we will start right now. So guys, how about we take 5 minutes break? I know that other classes gives you 10, but we have a lot of things to cover. So how about 5 minutes, and we are back after 5 minutes, which is 6:37. I like your sweater. Thank you so much. I like it too. Thank you. Okay, I'll see you in 5 minutes, and be back, and we will be writing test cases based on PRD. Have you worked 2 jobs before SQA? Do you think it's double? I know people who did. Guys, we can count as a break, but I will answer some questions. If you want, you can go on break and then rewatch it. If you want to stay, you're welcome to. But now we're actually on the break. So have you worked 2 jobs before as a QA? Do you think it's doable? I never did. I know people who tried. They had to leave one of the jobs. It was really tough because some meetings, they will be overlapping. The amount of things that you have to catch up on is difficult, unless you're really doing different shifts. Like let's say you work in New York time till, let's say, 3 p.m. in California, you're done, and then you get some extra gigs or something. But QA doesn't really have gigs. That's the thing. So I know people who tried. It didn't happen to them, but some people trying to. They're just trying to catch more money. But it's a well-paid job, and I would say 1 should be enough. I would not recommend doing this. You will burn out, and it's not, I don't think it's worth it. Okay. You should be a robot. I know one robot, but he's really, I mean, he is a robot. On that note, have you heard of full-timers taking on contracts, freelance on the side? The guy that I know has tried to do it. Both of the jobs he got hired on full-time. So both of the companies gave him full-time job, but he really was able to do it for, I think, a couple months, and then he had to leave one. It just, you can do corp to corp also. Let's say you can register a company and they can hire you corp to corp. So it's not like you are individual working, it's a corporation working. But again, to catch up on those things will be a little difficult, I would say. Maybe that's why I don't know anyone who succeeded in 2 jobs at the same time, unless you really have the company which is hiring other people and you get the contract as a company and it's different people who work under your company. Then of course it's doable because it's different people, but then you have to operate the business and pay salaries. Just got here, did I miss anything? Yes, you did, Christian, you missed, but it's good for you, we are recording. So you will reboot. After getting a job in the US, would I be able to do my job internationally? I'm American. That's a very common question. Theoretically, you can, but you have to have a clearance from your company. Let's say when my workers, engineers that work for me in my team, they need to go back to their country, let's say like for 2 weeks. Of course they can do, for a month, they can work. But, working for US company, being somewhere else, you really have to, the company has to allow you to do it, because there are certain security issues that they might not want be out of the country. And I know these situations when people wanted to move to Canada, the company did not allow them to work for the same company. They have to be on the US ground because of the security things. But again, if let's say you are going to visit your relatives and your manager is okay, like for you to work, let's say in months from somewhere else, then it's, yes, totally. You can, but there is not one answer that fits everyone. Everyone's situation is different, managers are different, and software is different. Some is super secretive and some are like, okay, work wherever. Bye life work balance. No, it's actually hello. It's you will love it. How are the least amount of hours that you can work? Oh guys, no, you have to be actually present. That's a full-time job. So it's not a gig, it's not part-time, it's not like I mean, you can't be, let's say, out, but you have to be present online. It doesn't mean that all 8 hours you'll be sitting and testing. Some days you will, but some days you will be done in 2 hours. And then you can tell your manager that, okay, I need to run right now for the appointment and I'll continue from home, and that's totally fine. So it's not something that you cannot really do. It's very flexible. It's your responsibility that it's bug-free software. How you do it, when you do it, it's up to you, but you have to be present. I live in Canada. Can I look for a job in USA? I think that it's a good question, because we have Canadian classes. You know what? It's better to ask, I think, customer support, because we have Canadian classes for sure, and they work. But how do they do it? I'm not quite sure. You can ask the customer support. I think they will be able to tell you. Can you see someone with no experience and no idea at all in the QA platform that can succeed and create a nice base for a good career? Everyone at some point have no idea what QA is. Me, myself including. I was not, my first education is from Ukraine and it's tourism management, totally not relevant to IT at all. And when I started learning QA, I barely knew how to use computer, guys. And, and I'm the good example of the person who is totally not technical, was not technical, didn't have IT background. And as you see, 12 years after, I'm a QA manager. And trust me, it's a lot of us. It's not only me. Can I find a QA part-time job for weekends? No. You cannot. No, this is there is no part-time jobs for QA. There's contracts, but it's a full-time too. And you definitely need to continue your current job by searching for QA job, but it's not going to be weekend. It will be daytime. So you keep your job, you keep looking for QA job, and then you have to switch once you accepted the offer. Break, it's over. Let's talk test cases. Yes, it is over. And there are some more questions which I will answer after we're done. So, test cases. Guys, I told you, and I will continue telling you that test cases is easy to write, but it's a lot of them, okay? So it's not like you will write one huge one and say, I'm done. No, it's not like that. This is really not like that. How do you write test cases? You first get your requirements. And usually the requirements document would look something like this. It will have maybe some screenshots and some information. What you do with it? Let's say you are given PRD and you are told, okay, prepare the test cases. The good news for you is that it's not going to be one day. You will spend good amount of time on it. And what you need to start from is basically you read your PRD. You, as a user, think of it as a user guide. I don't know who really reads the user guide nowadays, but I know they are always included for a reason, right? So there, it's kind of like a user guide, but for us mostly. So let's say your PRD is for user login and registration for the My Trivia quizzes, some application. First, of course, you will read it. You will read it, you will get familiar, you will, this is 6 pages long. So basically you will get an idea of what it should look like, what you are testing. This is just one screen. And then you will understand, you kind of get an idea. You are testing the login screen for these quizzes, trivia quizzes. And remember, where you see word requirements, this is for us. We always look where the requirements is. So this is a screenshot. You understand it's looking like this. Now, there is a description, and that's what you need. So let's start reading. The login page here, the login page should be the first page that users see in the modified application. So you need to test it, because if it says that it should be the first page, then you should be able to verify it, because it says. What you do, you go to your TestRail, and you remember that once you logged in, you're seeing your dashboard, and you are picking your project. Let's say yours is Natalia. The project is given to you, so you are not creating a new one. you will be told, let's say, open Natalia project, that's where we're working. So you say, okay, and you go to test cases. Here, I have some of them already here, but we'll be writing new one. So let's say you want to add a test case, and you will say that here is the test case button, you can add it, or you can add a section. So let's say you need to test this login page, and you can call it login page. So you add a section and you say login page tests. For example, you can call it whatever you want. This is just has to make sense. And you say add section. And you see it appeared here at the top. We can remove this so it's not messing up with you. So you added this section, and here you can add test cases. You can do it from here, just add case, or you can say add test case. Let's say you click here. No. You add a test case. When you click on the button, it will open the fields that you fill out as an engineer. Now, not everything you need to touch here. You only need the particular things: title, preconditions, steps, and expected result. Remember, now you will write a test title. And the easiest way to go back to your requirements and copy paste. So here we validate that the login page should be the first page that users see in the modified application. You can copy paste. Why? Well, it's not copy pasting. Let me see. Control. And you say verify that, and then you paste. That login page should be the first page that users see in the modified application. You really copy paste it, but you need to put a verify because you're verifying something. So verify that login page should be the first page that user sees in modified application. This is pretty clear, right? You basically want to make sure that once you go to this application, you see login page. How you know that? Because PRD says so, and you copy paste it. Now, preconditions. Here, we don't really have any preconditions because, I mean, this is pretty straightforward. Preconditions you need in case you have some steps that you need to have before you get to these test cases. For example, you might need, let's say in this precondition, you need to test on Firefox browser. So in this case, in this preconditions, you will say install Firefox. For example, this is just an example of what can be a precondition, if there is any. It's not always there. Steps. Steps should be very clear, and they have to outline each step that you do. However, the steps, it should not be a lot of them. It should be, I would say, maximum up to 7. Otherwise, this test case becomes super massive. So if you have more than 7 test cases, it's better to break it down into 2. So example, in these test steps, you will have, basically, you're verifying that login page should be the first page that user sees in the modified application. How you do it? You install the Firefox and you say, open your browser. Number 2, type the address, and you do not put which URL you're using because this data can change. Today it's mytriviaquizzes.com, tomorrow it's I don't know, mytriviaquizzesportal.com, something like that. Data which is changing, like accounts, like URLs, you're not putting in the test case. Because let's say you wrote it today, tomorrow it changed, someone trying to run the test and the URL is not working. So this data you're not giving in the steps. Number 3, type the address. And number 3, check the login page appears. You don't have to be a English professor to write it. It just has to be clear. So expected result. Here is the trick. Usually the expected result is in the title already. So instead of verify, you can just copy this and say that expected result user should see, for example, let's say user should see login page. Login page as the first page. Yes, first page. Something like that. Basically, you can even copy paste your title if it makes sense to verify the expected result. If once you will start your test cases and you don't see the expected result, you see some other page, let's say, I don't know, create account page, then you will see that here the expected result, we should be seeing the login page, but instead we see create an account page. It means that expected result is not matching, and it means what? It means what? Bug. Yes. Yes, test case failed and bug report is created. Exactly. So if your expected result is not matching what you see, then it means a bug, and you will create this bug. But at this point, when you write those tests, you have no idea, will it fail, will it pass? You just need to create them, and you need to create a lot of them. So let's say here you created the first one. Now you have to create the next one because there is a lot of them. So you go back to your, you go back to your, oh, why it's not created? Oh, it's added it here. It should be adding it here, but it added it here accidentally. Now you can actually move it. You can put it in here and it should get moved. Why not? Move here. Okay, you moved it. Now you add next case. And remember, you will have a lot of them. And you will be doing this for, you can do it for a couple of weeks, just writing these test cases. Nothing really else you'll be doing because there is nothing to test and you're just preparing. So next test case, you go to your requirements and read the next sentence. It should provide 2 text fields, one for entering a login name and one for entering a password. Here, can you really copy and paste this one as the test case title? What do you guys think? Yes. No. Yes. No. Yes. It could be 2 test cases. Exactly. We need 2. No. So see, most of you guys figured it out already. Yes, it's 2. Because if you copy paste like this, that will be 2 expected results. One for login name, this one, and one for the password. But can you have 2 expected results in one test case? Can you? No, exactly, you cannot. You cannot because, remember, if it fails, one of them fails, one of them passes, then you cannot add the result. You don't know if it passes or fails, right? Because it has 2 expected results. One test case, 1 expected result. If your sentence says that one for entering a login name and one for entering password, it means 2 expected results means 2 test cases. So we have to write and just break it down. Login name. First one we'll create for login name. We start from verify that the login name text box is present. Now, you're not verifying what size, how visible it is, where it is located, functional or non-functional. Nothing you verify. Here you verify that it's present to test its size, location, functionality. It's a different test case and not one. It's a lot of them. Here you verify that it's present. That's pretty much it. Now you go inside and you edit it here. Title already here, precondition, not really preconditions. Here, nothing, steps. Oh, by the way, important. When you're creating lots of test cases, you feel like, oh, I'm just going to say in steps, complete previous test case, and then you add some more steps to it. That's not how it is. It could be different people who run it. It can be different times when people run it. So you should not be linking test cases like this. They have to be separate. So you are not saying in preconditions, complete the previous test case, or you are not saying in the steps, finish the previous test case, and then look if the login is present. Nothing like that. You have to start over. Remember, can be different people, different times, okay? Now, in preconditions, we don't say nothing. In steps, you go to open your browser. Number 2, type the, let's say it's web application, web address. I don't know if it's web or not, but if it's web, then you will say web address. If it's not, then start the application or whatever you need to do. And number 3, check the login text box. And an expected result, you verifying that it's present. You say the login text box has to be present. Not saying nothing about size, color, or location, okay, or functionality. You didn't type nothing inside, so you don't know if it works or not. But here you're validating that it's there. Save test case. Next one. Next one is going to be, remember, we are validating that the password field is also present, which is pretty similar. So for that, you don't need to look at the PRD. You copy this and you paste and you say, verify that the password text box is present. Now you save it, you go inside, you click here and you add data. Pretty much same. Go open your browser. What's going on with my typing? Type the web address. Number 3, check the password text box. And here we say that the expectation, the password text box is present. That's it. Save test case. Go next. We already created 3. Now, what else we have in PRD? Next line says, in addition, it should have a common button that initiates the password checking action. Basically, this is the button. Once you click it, then it checks the password and username. But at this point, it doesn't say that we actually validating the functionality. It says that it has to be there because we didn't really test functionality yet. So for this, you can also copy paste. You can copy paste this part and go to your cases and say, verify not everyone starts with verify. You will see all kinds of different test cases. Trust me, there will be some messy ones, but you want to be a good one. You want to be the one that your test cases is easy to follow by anyone who opens it. That will give you more credibility, that will push you forward in your career. If let's say you want to become a lead and manager, you will be writing a lot. And that is, you have to make it readable, easy to follow, and something that everyone can do. Because once you will start working, you will see that many people write the mess, which no one can read. And you just sit like this and you think like, man, I have no idea what to do here. So don't be this person who writes the messy test cases. Create them nicely. Start with verify, then paste whatever you're verifying. Verify that command button that initiates the password checking action is present. Is present. Now, you created already 4, see, but that's a long requirement document. So you understand it's going to take time. Now, you go back here and you say that, okay, here we verified. Now we need to edit the case. You go inside, you click on edit. No preconditions, nothing. Steps. Again, open your browser. I know. Type the web address. Number 3, check the login. What is the name of this button? It's login button. Okay. So you will say check the login button present. That login button is present. Okay, now in expectation, copy paste, check that command button that initiates the password checking action is present. Save test case. Many more to come. Next one. If either of the text fields is left blank, it is an error that must be reported to user. So what we do here we actually need to test the functionality, because if let's say we leave the username blank and the password is present and we click login, then it should give an error. If we put the password, if we put the username without the password and click login, then it should give us an error. So basically here, what this line is saying is that we have to check this behavior. We have to really check, does it give an error when we leave one of these fields blank? Can we test it at one test case? That could be 3 cases. Yes, it can be. No, we cannot test it in one test case. No. Yes, that's right. We cannot. We have to create at least 2 test cases, but of course you can create 3 because you can leave both blank. So as Ferdinand pointed, that could be 3 test cases, because first test case we can do leaving username blank, password we put, check login, expected an error. Second one, put the password without username, click login, check an error. Third one, leave both blank, click login, expect an error. So that's what we need to write. You see that it's pretty much, I mean, we do it every day, right? We do every day this login pages. But when you think of how much tests you can perform, there is really a lot. And let's say we want to create those 3 cases. You can do it faster. You can do it the way that you add test case headline and then you fill it out. That's one of the ways to do it, or you can do one by one. So I showed you how to do one by one, but now I will show you how to do titles and then later to fill it out. We use both techniques because sometimes you just want to outline quickly and later on you would put steps and everything. But because you have to put the steps either way, then it's up to you when you do it. But this way is kind of more complete. You do one by one, but we also do the quick way. And later on, we are filling out that other data. And this is how you do just test case names. Let's say, verify that leaving the it's username, right? Username blank is blank and clicking on the login triggers an error. You save it. Then next one, you without filling it out, you can actually copy paste. It will be even faster. Paste, and here we are changing that, leaving the password blank and clicking on the login triggers an error. Save it. Next one, copy paste again, verify that leaving both fields blank, both fields blank, and clicking on the login button triggers an error. Save it. So you created 3 test cases. In real world, you could really just test like this because this is pretty self-explanatory. But the good practice is actually fill them out. So someone who maybe doesn't understand the title, he will understand steps. As I said, we do both ways. If that's pretty straightforward, sometimes you just leave it like that because we all know what it means. But let's make it right. Let's just fill it out. So let's say you created this test. You know they have the names, and you can run them. They are correct. It's just you want to add some more steps. So here you, let's say later on, next day, you sit and fill it out. You open it and you have title already. So here we're leaving the username blank and clicking on the login button, and we expect an error. So preconditions, really nothing. Steps, same, will be open your browser to go to your site, go to site, not necessarily yours. It's not yours, it's someone else's. So go to site 3, locate the login we're leaving. Okay, login text box. Or leave it blank and fill the password. Here you might think, okay, why we don't have the preconditions for it, like the account, which is correct? Well, because we cannot really use the data which changing in the test case. You created an account, it works for you. In 1 month, it's not working, and someone is trying to use your account, which you given precondition. So that is why we are not using the precondition, the accounts which tend to change. Now, when someone sees your test case, they will understand that they will need some test account, and they might ask developers or their team members, do we have any test account that I can use? And if that's the case, then someone will share, or they will say create yourself. So then you go ahead, register and use it. But leaving the preconditions with the existing account can be dangerous because They will try 5 times and they will waste time because it might be inactive at that time. So that's why we're not putting any preconditions with the existing passwords and everything. Leave it blank and fill the password with the correct password. Because if you put it with incorrect one, then it also will trigger the error message. But that's not what you're testing now. Now you're testing the correct data. And number 5, click login button. Expected result is that if user do not input login info, the error message is triggered after clicking on the button. You can tell that English is my third language. Save this case. Now, if steps are pretty similar, you can just copy paste them and go to the next test case. Because we pre-filled them already, they're available here. You can just go to next one. Verify that leaving password blank and clicking on the login triggers an error. You edit. Steps, copy paste. You just can put the number 1, 2, and 3. It never actually copies. I don't know why. I think this is TestRail doesn't want us to keep copying and pasting. Oops, sorry. Wrong one. Number 4. Number 5. I don't know what was faster, type it or copy paste. See? Okay. Here we want to test the password. So password, you just change it, leave it blank and fill the user name, and click login button. Expected is that error message should pop up. And save test case. Go to next. Verify that leaving both fields blank and clicking on the login triggers an error. Okay. Copy paste, guys. Again, steps. I'm not going to go through 1 to 3. You figured it already. You just need to change the wording. Locate login and password text boxes. Leave both blank and click login button. Expect the result. Error should pop up. Pop up. That's it. Save test case. Now we don't have anything next because we didn't really pre-fill them. So we have to go back here and see how many we did. We did a lot, but there is so many more and they are just all here. Now, you remember that not only the positive test cases we test, we have to test the negative too. So we'll have to try the incorrect username, incorrect password, the account which was never created, never registered. And that also will make another test case. You can never just say that, oh, it's just positive test cases and that's it. No, you have to be creative. So being creative means use wrong name, use wrong password, try it out, use the account which was never registered, try it out. The more tests you have, the more coverage you will have, okay? And eventually you will find less, you will find more bugs, but the customer will find less bugs. Now, let's say a negative test case for this. let's say we will try the account which has the username is wrong. So you will have to add case. Verify that using wrong login username name and correct password does not let you log in. Something like that. Same, you need to verify that using correct username but wrong password will not let you to log in. So here you just copy paste and you say verify that using wrong password and correct username doesn't let you log in. Now, both can be wrong too. So you have to add this test case, verify that using wrong username and wrong password doesn't let you to access the application. Then also verify that the account which is not registered also cannot log in. So verify that the existing account information doesn't let you log into, or you can put it in a better wording, but you understand what it means, right? So the account which was never created, never registered, should not be able to log in. Now, of course, you will have to fill them out. And that will be, you just keep doing over and over again, over and over again. You will be going through product requirements and you will be just going line by line. Now, each test case has to be based on PRD and it has to have a title, verify that something happens. It should have the preconditions, if any, clear steps, and expected result. Okay? Let's say you covered whole thing, you spent 2 weeks, you have bunch of test cases, positive and negative, all kinds of test cases. Now, at some point, you will have to run them. And to run them, it's happening when you have something to test. Let's say you prepare, you sit with that long test cases list, and then at some point, developers give you the test version. They say, okay, Natalia, now we developed it, now you can test. So you will have the access to the website, for example, for any application that you're testing. How do you actually run them? How do you actually test based on what you wrote? Very easy. First, you open your website. So wherever you need to test, google.com, right? You open it and then you need to go back to TestRail and create a test run for yourself because it will have not only the tests, but the results. And that's what you need. You click on test runs and results. And remember, today we created one. Let's say today you need another one. You say add test run, and you can call it, let's say, login page. And the date stamp is very nice to have because, you know, it's telling you when it was run. You don't need references. You don't need milestone at this point. You just assign it to yourself. And you either include all test cases or select specific. Now, when you have huge amount of test cases, but you just starting testing, of course, it's not ready. Everything is not ready. There is just some pieces that can be tested. So in this case, we will select and we will say that only the login page. So here we have user login and registration. You can copy all of this, because it's just only for user login and registration. There could be different pages, it could be millions of them, but you're not testing them as of now. You just need to test this. And you select and you add test run. Now, here you will have the chart pie. After you run your tests, it will be making more sense. Right now it's 0 pass, 0 blocked, 0 retest, 0 failed. So what you do, here is your test cases. There is an application. You just go one by one. Open the first one and go. Okay, verify that login page should be the first page that user sees in the application. Steps, open your browser. You go to your browser. Let's say you go to Jira. I mean, this is example, log out. You type your web address, you typed, and then what we're expecting. Open your browser, go to the application, check the first page that loads. Expected. Login page should be the first one. Do we see login page? Yes, this is login page. What it means? It means that it passed. Exactly. Yes, it passed. If I see different page, let's say I see something else, not in Jira, but something else, search bar in Google, and I expect login page, then it's failure. So if it's passed, then you add the result and you say passed. When you have passed, there is no explanation needed. You just add the result and you go to next one. You click on the arrow. Verify that the login text box is present. Okay, go to home page, check the login box on the left is present. The login box is present. The login box, we should see here login box. This is different application, but here you would see username. That's a login box, right? Present, present. We don't type anything inside, present. Okay, pass, add result, pass. Let's say if you don't see it, you should see it, but you do not. Then of course it's a failure, or it can be something else. And let's look when you have different result, why you can have it. Except passed and failed, which is pretty self-explanatory. If it's failed, you go to Jira and you file your Jira and you say, okay, this is this Jira, and you add the result. So this is failed. But let's say you have right somewhere. Okay. See, you have one passed, one failed. Next one, verify that the password box is present. And you need to add the result. So what if there is a third state? It's not failure and it's not pass. It could be blocked or it could be retest. Where do you pick which? Blocked is easy. You cannot really verify because you cannot get there. Example of blocked, I can't load the website. If that's the case, you add the comment, I can't load the website. It keeps spinning. For example, if you're blocked, then there is two ways out. First one, if it's a known issue. Let's say everyone knows there is a Jira they're trying to fix, but you need to return your test results by the end of the day. Then you select blocked. Blocked is a test result. But it doesn't mean that it's failed or passed. It just means that it is a test result, it's valid, and it's neither of pass or fail. This is blocked. You don't know if there is a password box present or not because you cannot see it, right? Can you put it pass if you cannot see it? No, you cannot. Can you put it failed if you cannot see it? You cannot, because you don't know. And if that's the case, then you put blocked. and you will retest. If it has the Jira someone created and it's known issue, you will say this is Jira this. But if it's new issue, you just discovered it and no one else filed it, you checked with your teammates, no one filed, then you file it and then you add this Jira here and you add the result. Now, next one, and you see chart pie is actually becoming nice. Nice one. Verify that login page should have a login button. Add result. Now, you have passed if you see it. You have blocked if you cannot really get there. You have failed if you don't see it. It should be there, but it's not. And you also have retest. Retest is also valid test result. Yes, of course, it's not passed, it's not failed, but retest is valid because you might need more data to test it, for example, or the functionality is depending on something which is, let's say, failed. And you don't want to fail too, and you don't want to block it because it's not really blocked and it's not really failure. You just need, let's say, more time, or maybe you need to have a different explanation. Maybe something is going on, maybe requirements changed and you didn't know. So before you find out, before failing or passing or putting it blocked, you can put retest. And with retest, you will need to have some sort of explanation also. Let's say checking on the new requirements. Because they could check, they could change. Let's say you had your test cases written 3 months ago, and since then requirements changed. But let's say you don't know about it, you're trying to find out, no one really told you about it, or you wanted to file a Jira, but then someone told you, you know what, I think they were changing something here, but I'm not sure. And let's say you emailed to product manager asking, but today you have to complete your test run. So failing it, no. Passing it, no. Blocking, really not, because it's not blocked. So retest, checking on the new requirements, doesn't need any Jira, and add result. Now, whole test run, you're going and adding your test results. For blocked, you're creating, for failed, you're creating Jiras. For blocked, you might be creating Jiras. For passed, you don't create Jiras. And for retest, you just add a comment. There is no Jira. And you completing your test case. Let's say this one was passed. This one, let's say, was blocked. You're just going one by one. Passed. I'm just showing you guys as an example. It's not necessarily, I mean, you cannot just pass it or fail it like this, but I'm doing to show you how the test run would look like. So let's say passed. Now, you're done. You see 40% passed. Here you see 4 passed, 3 blocked, 3 retest, 1 failed. You're done with your test run. You can share the results, and to share it, you can either create a report or you can just easy copy paste the URL and send it to your manager because they want to see what's going on there, right? That's pretty much it. Then tomorrow, when they give you the new version of the code, you will retest something that was, let's say, blocked or retest. But really, test runs, you will have a lot of them because each time you test something, you create a test run. It can be 2 test cases. It can be 200 test cases. But that's what you do all the time. And you are using the test cases that someone created, either you or either someone from your team, but you're reusing them. So everyone's sharing the test case repository. You can have a lot of them, and you're just creating test runs. That's what we just run, and you will see this kind of charts over and over and over again. Okay? That's pretty much all for the test cases. As I said, we will be practicing, but before, I want you guys to really watch these 2 videos when you are having time, but before you start your homework, because it will refresh your memory, you know, after today's class, and you will have even better understanding. But I hope that most of the things were clear today, because I tried to make it as clear as it possible, and it's really not a difficult thing. This is a repetitive task, okay? Now, I know there's lots of questions. Let me see. Let me go to where do you get the JIRA number from? The JIRA program? Yeah. So look here, when you are in JIRA, you will have a bunch of, why? I think it kicked me out. I need to retrieve the password. But yes, it will be in JIRA. It will be, each ticket will have the number. You will see it. It's automatically generated. So I'll show you next time when I log in, because I logged out and now I have to look for password. But yeah, it's pretty clear which JIRA it is because it's all numbered. If a test originally failed and the developer fixed the problem, the developer can mark it to be retested. Yes, so he will send it back to you and you will retest, and then you will either close it or reopen it. What if one test failed, but the other tests depend on that one? Do you continue or stop testing? You'll continue because you have to complete the test run. So if it's dependent, then you will just say blocked, because you're dependent on something which is not working. So you cannot really get there because you're blocked. You just select block and write a quick explanation. But you cannot stop testing because there is other things which are not blocked. If it passed on Mac and failed on Windows or Android, what are we going to do? Oh, it's a good question. Well, first of all, it depends where you're running. If you're running, let's say, Mac Chrome, you can put it in your this one name. So we're testing login page. You would say, let's say Mac Chrome login page and date stamp. If it fails here, then you file a JIRA and you say, this is particularly this environment. But if, let's say, you are seeing it everywhere, all the browsers, then you can just have the regular test run, and it doesn't really matter. And JIRA will say that, okay, I tried all the browsers, they're all failing. But if you're running in particular browser, then you usually put it in the headline and you know which browser it is. So when you write your JIRA, you also put that this is this particular browser. And you will create a bug report, of course, saying that, okay, this is the browser that I'm seeing the issue in. As soon as we get failed, are we not creating bug report? Yeah, we do. We create bug report. You did very well, thank you. Thank you, guys. I appreciate your kindness. What is an average amount of test cases for one PRD? There is no average amount, guys, because PRDs are different. Some PRDs are 30 pages long and some are 3 pages long. So really, you have to judge for yourself of what is the sufficient coverage. If you tested positive and negative and all the boundaries and everything that you could in different browsers, then if you feel it's enough, then it's enough. You're a good teacher. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Clear. You did great with explaining everything. Thank you, guys. This was an informative class. I'm glad, Kyle. Thank you for explaining everything so clearly. Guys, you're so nice. I like your name. Thank you, Seda. Yeah, it's pretty popular in Ukraine. Every second one will be Natalia. I was able to click the links in the slides on the computer, but not on mobile. But that could be just EM. You just open it on computer because there is a lot of things that you need to read. Can you do test cases using your phone? Only if those test cases are for the mobile platform. And in that case, it's not your phone, that's the phone that is given to you for test. If you are the mobile tester, then you will be given all kind of iPhones, Androids, Google phones, wherever they have, like I don't even know how much they have. If you need 20 phones, you will have 20 phones and you test on all of them. Or you will test emulator platform. But if it's web, then you cannot test on mobile. If it's mobile, then you have to test on mobile. Thank you. You were very straightforward and descriptive. Thank you, guys. Do we have to test the test cases on all the web browsers, such as Safari, Google? Okay, it's a good question. So you will know what's your priority browsers and operating systems. Because if you prefer to use, let's say, Mac and using Chrome browser, then your testing will be nice and smooth and you will not find so many bugs. But if you go on Windows and Internet Explorer, for instance, you will see so many bugs that you just keep filing them. Most of the bugs we always find in Internet Explorer. But if, let's say, your customer base is not using Internet Explorer at all, then Internet Explorer will not be in the list of priority browsers. So your company will give you the list of priority operating systems and browsers. And usually we go through first and second priority. We never go to the third because we don't have time. But they will know what platforms the customer is using. Because if you love one and the customer loves another one, then trust me, you will test on yours, but the customer will write you another tens of bugs and you don't want it. So you need to know which ones. Always request the list and work off that list. Are we testing on different browsers or operating system at the same time? No, not at the same time. Priority basis. So today you test on one, tomorrow you test on maybe priority 2. Usually it will have the priorities. Until you finish priority 1, you don't go to priority 2. Okay? If the login page needs that many cases, how many test cases do we need to create for how many cases do we need to create for applications or websites? A lot. Yeah, because you figured out just for one page, we create for one page. For one piece of the page, we created 11 and we just started. So it really depends. It depends, and use your best judgment. Be a good QA. There is no particular amount that we have to create. It has to be enough to test the majority of the functionality. How do you deal with the messy test cases that were written by someone else? Do you rewrite them? Struggle, because some of the test cases written poorly can really waste so much time that you just have to figure out, because if they're written poorly, then you either try to figure them out or you can rewrite, but usually we don't rewrite because it takes so much time. Struggle with them, I would say. That's why it's really important to write them nicely so no one struggles. Are we testing on different browsers and operating system at the same time? This one we already responded. Do companies require us to have laptops or do they provide it for us? They will provide it. They will provide it. They will give you everything that you need. Дякую, Natalia. Excellent presentation. Thank you, guys. The test case is created by the QA tester. Yes. The test case is created by us, by engineers. Thank you for the great class. thank you guys. I appreciate your active participation. I'm glad that everything was clear. Again, watch 2 videos. Practice a little bit in your head, because you will get soon homework, and then you will be practicing on the Google spreadsheets. And then we will look together. I don't know who will be an instructor. I'm not saying it will be me, but any instructor will be going with you through all the test cases and giving you the feedback. So it will be a lesson, I think 10, if I'm not mistaken. So if it will be me, then we will review it together. If it will be a different instructor, they will review same way, and you will get the feedback, and you will improve your skills for the internship. Have a good night, guys. Will there be an additional training after being hired on QA? Yeah, of course, the company will provide you training, because you need to know their product. You cannot test something that you don't know. My company, one of them, gave people about a year to start understanding the product, but that was a complex one. Usually it's like a month. You will get training, you will get demos, everything you will get. Good night, guys. The class was a success. You're very easy to understand. Thank you, guys. That's my 3rd language, I think. In any case, I wish you good evening too, and I will see you guys next time later on. Any questions, anything you have the community, reach out, let us know, we will address. The learning lesson can be watched another day. Yeah, this is recorded. Anytime you want, you can rewatch it. My 3rd language as well. Have a good one. Yeah, I even know which ones we have in common, Olga. I think all 3. See you guys, and and have a good night. Have a good rest. This short course is enough for looking for QA job. Most of the people who follow the course closely, who do well on the internship and interview preparation, for them is enough, yes. Because guys, QA is not changing. QA is the same everywhere. That's the base that you need to know. Then the company will train you on their own product. So if you know the base, you'll get the training on their particular product, and then you will be working for this company. The whole course is 15 weeks, right? I'm not sure, actually. I think we have about 16 class. Maybe, I'm not sure, guys. Okay, someone says yes, okay. Thank you, Bran. Okay, guys, don't wanna keep you here longer. I will see you soon. Thank you very much. Thank you guys for participation, great questions, and positive feedback. I'll see you soon.